Hi, Cooper community. This is Colleen Evans, the Dean of Students from Cooper Middle School. On Tuesday, December 19th, we had our COBRA Community Circle event, which was focusing on creating healthy habits for teens and tweens over winter break. So the first thing that we did was we did a delve into some data from last year where we really looked at an increase of office referrals, specifically behavior that influxed after winter break. So I want to go ahead and just start with the purpose of the circle. Really, COBRA community circles are events that are to build partnerships between families and the school. We hold the meetings once per month in the Cooper Library, and it's typically the third Tuesday of every month. January 16th will be our next COBRA Circle, and it will be featuring Roy Mason and how you can start to build financial equity for your student as they're getting ready to maybe head into college. But this month we really wanted to focus on a current issue to prepare as we're headed into winter break. And so the idea of the December COBRA Circle was to listen to student voices and help implement healthy habits for your teen over winter break by reflecting on different scenarios. And we also had some special guests that participated in a student panel where they answered scenario questions. So when we kind of look at the data, really the data does not lie. This data came from the 2022 to 2023 school year, and we pulled data right before winter break and for about a month after we returned. And what we noticed were there was 119 office referrals. That is a pretty high amount compared to other times of the school year. When we broke that data down, there were 46 parent contacts. Now that could be for multiple reasons. It could be academic concerns. It could just be looping in parents to conversations that are being held in the classroom or in the office, attendance, maybe even medical. But where it's more concerning was that there were 44 behavior concerns logged, 28 of them discipline. So when we break down our discipline office referrals, what we found was that a lot of the times these referrals centered around miscommunication utilizing technology. So students who were either emailing, calling, texting, using social media platforms, and there were peer conflicts due to miscommunication. Also, there were a lot of misuse of photos, whether it was taking and or posting without permission. While the photos might not have been inappropriate, they were sometimes done where they might have been edited or there was a caption, and it might have been used as a joke. And so the intention was there was a joke, but the impact that it had on another student was hurt feelings or just a variety of different emotions. We also saw an influx of racial slurs and microaggressions, as well as impulsive actions and words. And this was all really stemming after winter break. And so we wanted to take some time to think about, well, how can we prevent that from happening? And one of the things that we really want to work on at Cooper Middle School is developing routines and healthy habits, even while we are off and we are on winter break. So we took a couple minutes and we went around and we heard from voices of our students. And so we did some interviews and we asked them these two questions. What is an example of a healthy habit? And what is a healthy habit that you have a difficult time sustaining? In this short video, what we found were that our students were really incredible at speaking to what a healthy habit is. Some examples were, I need to do a better job of staying organized, getting my homework done, getting more sleep or going to bed earlier, having less screen time, less time on my phone and social media posts, eating healthy, and getting outside and maybe exercising more instead of being inside and playing video games. And so while we know our students are able to articulate a healthy habit and what they should do, where it becomes really difficult is when we think about How do we set up a healthy habit that we know is important and sustain that habit? So at that point, we took some research from James Clear book, Atomic Habits. And I'm going to read this quote because I think it's really important what he states in this book. Making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant in the moment. But over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could be. Success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations. James Clear does a really good job in his book of breaking down 4 ways of implementing and sustaining habits. And so the first one is that you first have to notice. So there has to be this implementation intention or a clarity of a plan. What is the habit that you're trying to implement? When is it going to happen? Where is it going to happen? And how is it going to happen? You actually have to imagine it first. And no one can imagine it except for your own brain. And so that's always often hard when we might see something in our head, but really breaking apart, how am I going to do it? The second is wanting it. And James Clear talks about the environment influencing our desires. And so you do not have to be the victim of your environment, but rather think of yourself as the architect. So I'm going to use an example of a cell phone. One thing that our students said in the interviews was that they really want to have less screen time. And so we know that screen time has a lot of different kind of things that happen in our body. It might be harder to fall asleep if you're on your phone right before bed, or you might be more easily distracted. So we know that the habit is important to have less screen time. How do we build an environment to be successful? Well, the first thing is if you have a power cord right next to your bed, remove it. Instead of your charging your phone next to your bedside table, put it in another room. Maybe it goes in the kitchen or the living room. And after a certain time, let's say 7 p.m., you plug your phone in, you silence it, and then you go into your bedroom or another living space. And the reason we're doing that is to say, I'm going to remove this barrier of being tempted from using my phone after 7 p.m. because I'm not even going to notice it or hear it ding or see the screen light up with a notification. So I'm changing the setting. The next step is doing. So stop talking about, I want to spend less time on the phone and actually do it. Start calculating your hours. I know every Sunday, iPhone will send me a message for how much screen time. And it either will say that I've increased my screen time or I decreased my screen time. Pay attention to that. Notate that in a journal and see where your patterns and trends are. And then last is if you like it and you reward yourself more immediately, you're more likely to sustain a habit. So often we're thinking about reaching the finish line, but instead think backwards. Think about if you're running a marathon, don't think of the end as the 26.2 miles. Think about mile by mile by mile and celebrating. So if one day you spend 10 minutes less on your phone, celebrate that. Reward yourself with some positive self-talk. If you plug your phone in another room at 7 p.m. and you choose to read a book in your bedroom, celebrate that. That is being successful, and you're really aiming for that 1% of implementation of the habit. So lastly, we wanted to just build a partnership between when our students come back after winter break and how they can also establish healthy habits for themselves and become more independent with implementing and sustaining these habits. So we're going to be doing a 30-day challenge where students are going to name a habit that they are going to commit to 30 days. And they're going to cross off every single day that they are able to be successful with this habit by implementing it and then really celebrating and rewarding themselves when they meet that 30 days, which will then hopefully extend to 60 days, 3 months, 4 months, and the entire year. So we're really trying to build not just this one-time habit, but really like a lifelong habit. And it's also something we're going to be talking to them about how to break down some of these parts so they can really be successful. And then lastly, we did bring in a student panel. We had three guests come in, three eighth grade students who did a fantastic job. They were asked scenario questions like, what would you do if this happened over winter break? And they spoke to some of the things that they would do. And they were kind of walking through those four different steps according to James Clear research with Atomic Habits. And it really just led to an open dialogue amongst the community and the students, Officer Essig, and myself. So it was a really fantastic moment. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this presentation virtually. We're sorry that we missed you on Tuesday, but we do hope to see you on January 16th for our next COBRA Community Circle. Have a wonderful holiday and fantastic winter break, everyone.